Hi, welcome to Essential IT and Security Skills. I'm Charles Redmond, Master Trainer, here to guide you through the essentials that you are going to need to land the job that you are looking for. In this series, we're going to talk about essential PC skills. I'm going to walk you through everything from software to hardware. Most people know me as a cybersecurity expert. Well, I couldn't have gotten there without learning the basics first. That's what this series is going to do. And then we'll move on in some later series with some more advanced concepts and techniques. But remember, it all starts with the basics. It starts right here, the essential PC skills. We're going to explain how motherboards work, recognize some modern expansion buses, upgrade and install motherboards, and identify some common problems with motherboards you may need to troubleshoot. So to understand how motherboards work, it all starts with the form factor. The form factor defines the size, shape, and layout of the motherboard, as well as determines the type of case you have to use. To perform upgrades and give your customers recommendations, as well as pass the A+ examination, you need to know these form factors. The chipset defines the processor type, the type and capacity of RAM that you can use, and the internal and external devices supported by that motherboard. It serves as the electronic interface, if you will, through the CPU, RAM, and input-output devices and how they interact. Most modern chipsets have two primary chips. It's the North Bridge and the South Bridge, illustrated here. The North Bridge helps the CPU work with the RAM, primarily on older systems, and it communicates with video on newer AMD systems. The South Bridge handles expansion devices and mass storage. It sits between expansion slots and hard drive controllers. And the Super I/O chip, or Super Input-Output chip, provides legacy support for serial ports, parallel ports, floppy drives, and a few others. Next, the expansion bus. Every device in the computer connects to the external data bus and the address bus, whether it's soldered to the motherboard or snapped into a socket. Expansion slots connect to the rest of the PC through the chipset, either the North Bridge or South Bridge, or possibly both. The chipset provides an extension of the address data bus to the expansion slots. To install an expansion card, it requires at least 4 steps. These apply to all types of cards. First, knowledge. We're helping you with that now. Second, physical installation. Third, installing any required device drivers. And then 4, verify you did all of them correctly. So to upgrade and install motherboards, first, you need to determine what motherboard you need. For example, is the CPU supported or is the RAM supported? How many components will you have to upgrade? And what's going to be the best value for your customer? You want to look for high quality manufacturers like BioStar and Intel. And of course, always have access to the motherboard manual for reference. To remove your motherboard, remove all the cards, remove any obstructing drives like floppy drives or DVD drives, remove the power supply, this may or may not be necessary, and unscrew the old motherboard. Next, you need to install the CPU and RAM on the motherboard before putting it back in the case. Check and adjust the location of any standouts that are going to be required, mount the motherboard in the case, install hard drives, power supplies, and so on, and then insert the power connections and other wires. Now, test it out. The final step is to connect any LEDs, buttons, or front-mounted ports, like for soft power, speakers, power, USB ports, and FireWire. So how do you troubleshoot motherboards? When dealing with a motherboard failure, a good technician knows how to troubleshoot some common problems, like catastrophic failure, component failure, or ethereal symptoms. For most of these, you're going to refer to the motherboard manual for reference. However, as we learned before, when dealing with component failure, you're going to deal usually with beep codes and postcards. Catastrophic failure generally means that you've experienced some sort of power fault that has rendered the diodes on the motherboard inoperable. We'll take a look at some of these in later modules. There you have it. It's pretty simple. Remember, everything starts with the basics. Once you have these understood, everything gets a whole lot easier. If you have any questions or even just a comment, feel free to leave them below, and I do read each and every one of them. I'll see you next time.